It just so happens that today is my favorite day, delivery day. And this one, I'm more excited about. Shape, you may be able to guess what it is. Ooh. Wow. Oh, snap. So I'm just gonna jump right to it. This has been sitting out in the sun and it is incredibly hot today. So I'm just gonna see if we can I started the end here, to see if we can break this off without getting the heat gun up. And by break, I mean just break the tape loose. Short, choppy pulls is what I've found to work best. There you go, she's letting loose. If you just try to pull it hard from one end, you're most likely gonna break it. The short choppy ones just allow you to control it a little better. Whew, she looks bad under there. Obviously didn't seal that great. We got a lot of junk that went down in there. Now we just got to go through and get all this garbage off. Which shouldn't be too bad because again, this was sitting out in the hot sun. So we'll peel off as much as we can and go around with some mineral spirits. Probably some quick detailer first this is very dusty, dirty. So we'll use the quick detailer, get all this junk off. And then we'll go through with the rubbing alcohol, make sure all the residue from the tape is off. And we'll clean up the backside of the other spoiler, apply the tape, test fit it, and then we'll adhere it. I don't mind the Meguiar's Ultimate Quick Detailer. I can't say that it's my favorite necessarily, but you know, we're just cleaning up an area that's gonna eventually be covered, so I don't necessarily need to waste the good stuff. But we got all of the tape off and a majority of the residue. So this just is going to clean up all the dirt and gunk, and then we'll have an idea of what we need to work with or work on as far as remaining residue goes. This is a completely different car with no spoiler. Golly. All right, once you have everything cleaned up to where you want it, I will say that plastic razor blades are really helpful too. If you have any stuff that's really gummed up from a prior spoiler, plastic razor blades, and want more of their surface, helps you scrape the stuff off, combined with the mineral spirits. So once everything's cleaned up, then you want to prep the spoiler as well. Of course, mineral spirits along the whole entire underside to make sure any grease or fingerprints or anything like that has been removed, and the tape will adhere properly. This did come with tape, but I'm going to use 3M because that's my preference and that's what works good. Let it dry thoroughly. You don't want any wet dampness from the mineral spirits on there, otherwise the tape's not going to stick, obviously. So make sure this is dry thoroughly, and then of course using mineral spirits on the back end, like I said, rubbing alcohol, or that is going to be essential also. You want to make sure the surface is completely clean and dry so the tape adheres properly. All right, so we got it all taped up. And as you can see, it doesn't really take all that much tape. I see a lot of people just putting crazy amounts of tape in here because they're worried that it is going to fly off. And you know, it's a valid concern, but if the surfaces are prepped properly, both the spoiler surface and your deck lid surface, this tape is going to hold really, really strong. So prep is key. That's one thing I like to stress. Also taking your time and going over the surface and making sure everything is adhered properly. But again, this is going to hold easily with this amount of tape. The main surfaces that are going to be in contact with the car obviously are the flat edge. So this is the edge that is going to make contact with the deck lid surface, the top of the deck lid. And this is also the edge of the spoiler that's going to be taking the most force. This is going to be the key area that holds the spoiler to your deck lid, which is why I have one continuous strip of the 3M tape running along the edge. The rest of this tape is basically reassurance, essentially. We know that the edges on spoilers tend to lift, so I wanted tape here. This is going to adhere to the rear of the deck lid, so it makes sense to have it here. Also, it's a bit of a corner, so I guess there's potential for it to kind of leave a gap, so having a nice piece of tape there. If I was to do this over again and I got a little impatient, I would have done this as one continuous piece. It works best to have as long of lengths as possible, because then it's less backing that you have to peel off. The other part here is just in the center, just because again, it's just to help keep the spoiler adhered, as well as possible. Gosh, 2 minutes talking about tape. So what I'm going to do is start the edges here. So you have some tape to pull, but I'm going to pull it completely off of these strips, the edges and then the backside, and then we'll slide the spoiler up and on. These will adhere, and then we'll pull this long strip off, and it'll be good to go. I've also used some blue painter's tape on the edges just to mark exactly where the end of the spoiler will be, because once you press it up against the car, it's going to stick, and you want to have to try to move it once it's sticking. You see this? Okay. So tape backing off the edges, and I left myself a little tab here to grab onto. Let's see how it goes. So she wants to grab it right away. So got it. So we got it lined up with the tape on each side, and everything is tight. So I like to take a rag and push it. I don't like pushing it with my bare fingers. And again, right now we're just pressing the underside. So we have tape here in the middle portion, and then we have tape here around the flat. So, and on the edge, of course, exposed. Fit seems to be pretty good. I wish it would have come a little bit further to the edge, but I guess they got to leave themselves some leeway. So not terrible. Okay, and then we pull the little tape tab that we left ourselves, and hopefully we can get it out of here. Got her started. to break it. Pretty tight. It's hotter than a mother out here. So we didn't have to use any tape or the heat gun at all, but that could be a recommendation if it's a little cooler outside. Heat the surface up a little bit, you know, heat the tape up itself just a little bit, just to kind of get the adhesive going and softened up. So just the same gap. But yeah, a little bit of a heat gun goes a long way in kind of getting everything activated. And even now, after pressing everything down, you could run a heat gun across it. But again, it's a million degrees out here today, so just applying a little bit of pressure, kind of using my thumb to lift up on the spoiler. And I can tell the backside is tight. There's almost no flex. But that's gonna push the front edge of this spoiler down and get that tape gripping. It looks pretty set, guys. That's pretty much it, guys. Installing one of these high kick spoilers is relatively simple. I'll say prep is key. You want to make sure all the surfaces are clean and free of any contaminants. You want to put some painter's tape down on the edges to make sure your spoiler is perfectly centered on your deck lid, to make sure all of the surface is made up properly. If it's not a warm day, use a heat gun, get that adhesive activated. And I recommend to not remove all of the backing from the two-sided tape until the very end. Just leave yourself a couple of pieces exposed so you get the spoiler mounted in place where you want it, and then pull all the backing, put some pressure, and you're good to go. Guys, of course, if you have any questions, leave them in the comment section below. I'll get to all of them, whether it's about the installation process or the spoiler itself. I'm glad to help in any way that I possibly can, and of course I'll leave links in the description below so you can pick one of these bad boys up yourself. eBay or Amazon, I believe you can find it. It might even be the same seller, but again, links in the description. I'll also do a follow-up kind of review on this bad boy as I look at it a little bit more and I kind of get a feel for how the car looks now with some added carbon fiber. But thank you guys very much for watching. If you're new to the channel, I thank you very much for stopping in. I have well over 100 videos now related to the Q50 and VQ37 platforms, so go check those out if you would too. Hit the subscribe button if you don't mind. We'll see you in the next one.